What's up, everyone?
Hello, guys.
Welcome back to the Verbal Weapons Ban podcast, where we try to emulate Australia in every way possible. Crikey.
Mate.
Sponsored by. Just kidding. We have no sponsors. All right, Willie, what are we talking about today?
Well, we discussed it over the week, and the big thing this week is gun control, so let's talk about that.
We're going to spend the whole time talking about gun control. Isn't that fun?
Yep, a lot of cancerous things has come from it, a lot of good points have come from it. So I think it's just something that we need to touch base on and just talk about and shine a light on, if you will.
Can we redo? Well, I'm going to start off by saying I am a supporter of firearms, sales, use, etc. Definitely pro Second Amendment. What about you, Willie?
I'm the same way. I'm a pro-gun owner, shopper, and I definitely
A pro
support the selling of the firearms within the America.
That was an excellent way to put it.
Yep.
You are a masterful orator, let me tell you.
I'm trying, John.
John. I got blisters on my fingers. All right, so this whole discussion has come up again. It seems to be a cyclic thing in a cycle. Basically, a mass shooting will happen. Everybody will talk about it. Nothing will happen, or at least basically nothing happens, and then people just seem to, lose momentum, and then it just happens again. Blah blah blah. So this one's a little different, at least so far. There's been a lot more activity. It's been growing, that movement of gun control, for a little while, especially recently with the more and more mass shootings, seemingly or deadlier mass shootings. A lot of the younger generation, our generation, in fact, has been pushing for it. There's a lot of, at least that I've talked to, our generation that is like us. We're pro-gun, but it definitely seems like the majority are more for gun control around our age group.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it only gets brought up during these kind of tragic events. And then, people talk about it for, a week, and then it's done. But, with this, I noticed the gun control talk became super heavy, a few days after the shooting. It wasn't, immediate after, normal. And then it's keeping the same momentum since. So, I definitely think there should be something done in regards to preventing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think banning guns is the correct way of doing it.
Well, I've seen a lot of things, especially on Facebook. I've seen things on Instagram. I think seen things on Twitter, just other news outlets. And there's a lot of good points this time around. A lot of points that I didn't necessarily think about, or if I had thought about, I didn't give as much appreciation to the opposing view of gun control. I've never really have. When I developed that opinion, I was just like, nah, all gun control is dumb, period. There's no good explanation, nothing. And now with everything, but including this topic, one of the most topics opinions I have set firmly out of all of my opinions hasn't changed. It hasn't changed my opinion, but it has made me realize that there are valid points.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me. But there's been a lot of things said. I want to know your thoughts. I started the podcast by saying we try to emulate Australia in every way. That's been a huge thing that's been brought up, and it's in 1996, I believe, there was a mass shooting in Australia, and a few days later, I believe, sweeping gun reform was put into play, and I mean, it got down to like, there was, I think, a combination of things. There was like, they would do, I can't remember what they call them, but they're like, you turn in your guns and they pay you for them.
Mm-hmm.
You could also, I'm sure you could have donated. What is that?
I don't know. But, yeah, it seems like they have programs like that here now. Oh, gosh.
We had a little technical difficulties here.
But
Definitely.
there's like stuff in America now that people do that. Like I see posts all the time, like this gun owner, former military, blah blah blah, turned in his guns today out of the kindness of his heart, like stuff like that. I see it. I see it all the time. I just can't. Facebook's cancerous at this point.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked for Australia. I'm not gonna lie, like it's worked. So, but I just
that is a fact.
Yeah,
we can't like
you can't sit here and say it didn't. So
there's a lot of other countries, different cultures and stuff we could point at and be like, well, this gun rate's a lot lower, and they took these steps to do this, and they took these steps to do that, and some of it's worked, some of it's not, some of it's worked really good, such as in the case of Australia. But there's 24 million people in Australia, roughly. And in America, there's over 300 million.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me because the culture is very different, obviously. But like a few things that is peaks, just it makes me think is, first of all, Australia started as a penal colony, as everyone knows. It started as like the English. I mean, obviously there's Aborigines who lived there, actual native Australians. But the majority of the people who live in Australia are descendants of, prisoners who were sent there. Now the crimes obviously ranged, but that's crazy to me that not only like it's one of the most dangerous places in the world. You have everything trying to kill you in Australia, like borderline everything.
So true.
And they're like descendants of basically criminals, and they're like, yeah, we all follow laws like a motherfucker here.
Yeah.
And it's impressive.
We're all law-abiding, and we're all great, and everything works out for us somehow. So,
mate.
Sorry, mate.
Mate.
But so it's definitely like something that should be brought into the argument. I think is like for people to be like, well, Australia, they're better than us. So. But there are a lot more people in the U.S. Comparatively, and I think if we could take guns away here for sure. But I was watching Joe Rogan the other day, and he said, there's more guns than people here. So you're not gonna get all the
1 to 1.1 ratio.
Yeah, and you're not gonna get like all the guns.
It's virtually impossible.
Yeah. And then so there's still going to be leftover guns, and then there's going to be arms dealers, people from other countries, like it's still going to be there, and there's still going to be ways to buy guns.
Yeah, but then the counter argument to that one is which I can agree with to an extent, obviously. But the counter argument to the guns are still going to be there even if we ban them is like, well, we made law, like we should do everything we can to protect children, to protect innocence, even if that means like just because it'll lower the chances, so even a little, we should do it. That is the counter argument to it. Like we do these things for common sense stuff, like I mean in some places Tide Pods and such as that. I saw a thing the other day about lawn darts. They've killed like 4 people in the past like 10 years or something like incredibly low like that, and they're still banned in the U.S. It's like, well, if we're gonna do it with lawn darts, why can't we do it with guns? Well, and it's not a 1-to-1. I'm just bringing up playing devil's advocate because you have to do that in order to formulate a true opinion. Willie,
I normally do that, so.
Well.
But go on with the lawn darts.
This brings me to another point. By the way, this is going to be sporadic. Attention deficit. It brings me to another point. I saw a thing on Facebook by this girl. I will not mention her name because I don't want to embarrass her. She was like, I was looking at the comments of this one thing about, because she shared a thing about gun control, and she was like, I guess the guy had said, open your eyes, and she was like, maybe you should open your eyes. This Second Amendment doesn't actually say that each individual person can own a gun. I know. This is the worst one I've seen ever, I think. Yeah, ever. And there was like, it doesn't actually, it says a militia is well armed, blah, 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 etc. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And she linked to an article or something like a persuasive essay, I imagine. And I was just like, no. First of all, reread the Second Amendment. It's fairly clear that it says, it doesn't specifically say every single civilian can own whatever firearm they want. It does not say that. But it's very obvious their intention there. And then on top of that, Constitution was ratified in 1780 something, I think 87, or 86. And George Washington was president after the Constitution was ratified. Thomas Jefferson and John Adams. And these people were all, the founding fathers became the presidents. And they are not only quoted, they enforced those laws as such. Everybody can own a gun. You don't have to be a part of militia to own a gun. Like there's quotes from George Washington after that's like the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, etc. And then he goes into every person not only should be armed, they should be armed well enough to defend themselves against any government. And I'm like, well, George Washington, one of the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, like all these people literally wrote this, and then they continued to talk about it in that way. Like, obviously, you fucking duh. I don't care what persuasive whatever you wrote. Duh. And now another argument that is much more logical, yet I obviously don't agree with. It's not obvious, but I don't agree with. But is, well, they had muskets, single fire, long reload time muskets, and my thing is, well, so did the military. People are like, they're not repeater, like fully auto, like killing 87 children per second. They had one, like, so did the military. They had exactly what the military had at that time, and the counter argument for that is, well, the military has jets and shit, tanks. What are we gonna do against that? I don't fucking know, but I'm gonna try as much as I possibly can. If it is, God forbid that situation ever arises, which I don't think it ever will. Yeah. But the chance is there. But obviously, I'm gonna want something, and if they're all banned, I would abide by those rules. I would, because that's how I work. Yeah. That's how me as an American citizen is gonna. I follow laws unless they're traffic laws, because fuck the. No, I'm just kidding. So I wouldn't, and therefore I would get trampled on twice as fast, even if it could slow the advance. Whatever. I would want there to be a little chance.
I mean, I think if they got, they were like, no more guns, I think the rate would lower for sure. Definitely. 100%. Absolutely. But I think that puts regular citizens in a disadvantage if the situation ever happens. So, like, if the situation were to ever happen, someone walks in, like some criminal who's obvious a criminal, if they're already robbing you, they have a gun, and you're sitting there with nothing, then you're just like, oh, fuck, shit. It's like, I'm dying today. Like, that too. Like, you have no chance at that point. But, and then there's a lot of people that say, like, there's counter arguments to every argument we're going to say, but that's just my big thing is, like, if an actual criminal gets a gun and, like, tries to come into your house or whatever, then it's just like, oh, well, fuck.
Yeah, it's like, well, go ahead and take whatever you want. Yeah. And please don't kill me. Yeah. It's pretty funny. Sorry, we were doing something. Now, we were talking about banning all firearms. The biggest thing I honestly think right now, especially, is the assault weapons, specifically assault weapons.
Specifically
banning those.
There's one specific gun that is the big argument, AR-15, which I like the AR-15. I like it, but I could see them getting rid of that and just being like, hopefully this will help.
Banning just that gun?
Just that gun, yeah. Or like just the semi-automatics.
Okay.
Like if they got rid of those, I think the problem would decrease as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you have even in the situation of a school shooting, movie theater shooting, whatever, there's a lot less casualties because of a slower firing gun. As in like a pistol or like a shotgun or whatever. So
in 1994, they actually had an assault weapons ban for 10 years, and it ended in 2004. And in 2003, they had a independent organization do a study to see if it was actually effective or not, and they said they found no evidence that it was. In today's the rate has gone up steadily. I shouldn't say steadily, actually. It's like basically at a very small incline, if that, like a 1% type deal. And then the past few years, it's like, like way up. But assault weapons only account, even with all the recent mass shootings, only account for, I believe, it's definitely less than 4%. I believe it's closer to 3 or 2% of all homicides, intentional murders with any firearm. Or, in fact, any murder whatsoever. It's like, that's such a low percent. Which, I don't agree with banning assault rifles or just the AR-15 either way. I don't agree with that. Because of it not being effective, and also because of the point I was making about the muskets having what the military has, which we don't. Because, fully automatic weapons, you need a certain license, depending on the state you're in, that costs money and you have to train for, etc. Now, I think what I would be absolutely fine with as a gun owner, as a very proud gun owner, I eventually want to make firearms one day. That's how involved I am in guns. I love guns. Love them. I think I would be fine with having, because you don't need a background check, at least in my state, Ohio, to purchase an AR-15. You can just get one.
Yeah.
In fact, there might be a 3-day waiting period or something. I'm not exactly certain because I've never actually bought an AR-15 or anything like that. But I would be fine with a background check because I bought a handgun fairly recently. I turned 21 and I wanted to get a handgun and my kids would carry. I purchased a handgun and I filled out a thing for my background check and it came back positive, obviously. It's your boy. Just kidding. But I had to wait 15 minutes, which is not bad at all.
Yeah.
I would be fine with a background check to that extent. I would be fine with a background check that took a week for any firearm I purchased from an establishment. And then it goes, I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with background checks across the board with all guns. Because I have nothing to fear in that situation. Now, the fear is, what are they going to do? Say you say something in an online chat room, like, I hate the government, I'm going to keep my guns, or something like that. The fear is that, okay, they'll put them on a list and they can't buy a gun anymore. There you go.
Yeah.
Or the thing is, when they do background checks to purchase a gun, they'll put your name on a list, and when they come and confiscate your guns, they will, they know who to look for, where they live, etc. Because you have to put in all your license stuff. So where your residence is, at least on your ID, age, description, everything. So there is a fear there that, it makes sense. It's I'd say a little irrational, just because I don't think it's ever going to come to that point. Yeah. But as a country founded, a fairly new country, founded on those kinds of principles, like, we have to stand up for ourselves no matter what, if it's our government or another one imposing on us. I definitely think that we should keep that ideal.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that would argue with you. This is super radical, but there's a lot of people that would say well, the founding fathers of our country also owned slaves, so, and then that just to them, to the people making that argument just debunks the entire thing. It's just like, oh well, I guess our Constitution doesn't mean anything anymore because they own slaves. Like,
if you bring up that argument, which I haven't ever heard, at least when we're talking about guns, I have heard that in other respects. Everybody's got their flaws. I can't justify that at all. In fact, like even growing up in that era, with my mindset the way it is now, I would be like, why? What the fuck?
What the fuck?
But that's slavery. I guess that's a completely different topic. But the way I think of it is the specific Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, aren't necessarily in any order. I believe they're just in an order of where everyone agreed. Like everyone agreed, right to free speech is the first one. Boom, there you go. The right to petition, etc. Because they just got done, Boston Massacre, etc. They just got done fighting a war for their independence.
Yeah,
and so
there's a lot of stuff.
And the second thing they agreed on over everything else other than free speech, petition, etc., is you can defend yourself. You can own guns.
See, that makes sense to me thinking about it. That would be the second one because they had just gotten over the whole Britain thing. So like to them it was like they could come back. And so like everyone needs to be able
and they were all
to be ready for that.
Of a tyrannical government. And that government could have easily turned into a tyrannical government.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, there's an easy way to stop that. You arm all the citizens. The government will think twice. Foreign powers will think twice. And that also goes back to, now I don't ever think America will get invaded ever by like any kind of ground force. I think with the way it is, mutually assured destruction, nuclear weapons, etc., that's never going to happen again. Never going to be a chance again. But in World War II, the reason, there's a quote, basically, we're not going to invade America because there's going to be a rifle behind every blade of grass. Because unlike 90% of countries, we are, like you said, there's more guns here than people. That's going to deter anybody from any foreign power from physically coming over here and fucking with us.
Yeah.
So there's that too, and that is a good thing. In that respect, that's absolutely like Japan invaded China.
Yeah.
At that, in World War II, they were a huge military power, and so the fact that that's what probably prevented them, the sole reason probably prevented them from actually invading us, at least immediately, is super like. If we didn't have that, we might not have survived.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's very true. And I just think that's something a lot of people don't think about anymore. Like, they don't think about it in that way. They're just like, get rid of guns. There's this huge mass shooting. We can stop it by getting rid of guns.
Which I think the argument has turned less about getting rid of all guns than to getting rid of assault rifles.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that think all guns should be banned. That no one should own a gun, and
I think they've just shifted their focus so they can actually try to get something done.
Yeah, and there's a lot of big points being brought up this time that I've just been like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, all right. Like one of them, which is something that I agree with completely, is lowering the media when something like that happens. Because there's like a theory that some people only do stuff like that for like
attention,
a widely known thing. Yeah, like because that's how terrorism works. Wide terror, and just so they think if the media played a lesser part, like if they were like, yeah, we're not gonna cover that anymore, then they think it would decrease as well. But it would also decrease in our minds because we wouldn't be hearing about it as much as well.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I fully agree with you, but I see your point.
That's not like a point I'm making. It's just like I kind of agree with that. Like I'm kind of like, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I mean, lessening the coverage. That's totally up to those companies if they want to do that. That's the thing.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to be like, yeah, we should put legislation in effect that limits news like completely separate entities and companies.
Well, yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
There's another amendment you're tumbling over right there. So I don't agree with that. But consciously, they can make that choice themselves. Will they? No, because more people watch
not.
like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when you think about it, there's a big thing. People who are pro-gun are saying, some of them, I'm not gonna say all people, are saying like, well, it's just the culture. It's Hollywood, their movies, it's video games, it's music that's promoting violence. Oh, that's promoting violence.
Yeah.
No, which I mean is true. It's definitely true. You kill. I mean, I literally talk about killing people in Call of Duty, like, or Halo, or whatever game I'm playing. I'm like, die, ah! You know, and that's I'm more violent because of video games. But personally, I value human life above like everything else, which I imagine most people do regardless. I think if you couple that with good parenting, or trying in some respects like that, that eliminates that completely. Now, if you're a shit parent, or they're in a terrible environment and they're exposed to that kind of culture, they might turn out as a bad apple.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. Bullying is a big part of that as well, which I don't really know how you can stop that, like, in a way.
I mean, like, I was parenting.
Yeah.
It would solve a lot of problems if everyone was just like, which, I mean, I've heard a million times when I was a kid, treat others the way you want to be treated. That would solve a million problems if everyone actually did that. Like, every problem on Earth would be solved if that was the case. But obviously, that's virtually impossible.
Yeah. The big thing on social media that's been pissing me off, and it's just after the Parkland, Florida thing, everyone's like, look at this guy. Look how fucking ugly he is. Look at his fucking ears. I'm really? Like, yeah, I've seen it everywhere. And I'm like, why do you... Fuck. Like, holy shit. Like, that's the reason... That's, like, one of the reasons why he did that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And it's just like... And you're just carrying it on. You're like, we should ban guns, but fuck this guy's ears. Like...
I get you.
Like, what?
I agree.
It's just like...
I mean...
That makes no sense to me.
At the same time, he killed like 17 people. So.
Well, yeah.
So fuck him.
Yeah, definitely fuck him now.
Fuck him.
But
yeah.
I'm not saying like, well, we should get him therapy and look out for him, and you know, he's just a troubled kid.
He's misunderstood.
He's misunderstood.
Like,
and
fuck
no, fuck that guy.
But him and his stupid ass looking ears. But I think it's fine to do that to an extent. I think as long as he's a shitbag, and I'm not going to stop anyone from pointing out how much of a shitbag he is, whether it be he's ugly as fuck, or he made the worst decision a human can make by killing other humans. But be nice to people. I've said it a bunch of times today. Like, contradict yourself 101. Charlie Haynes. Like, you know, so like, it's difficult. I understand what I mean. Just be nice to people as much as you can, and that would just solve every problem.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are like, well, is this an argument about guns or about mental illness? And I'm like, I think it's an argument about both.
I mean, definitely.
Like,
it's very much obviously an argument about both.
Yeah.
Or a debate in the best sense.
Yeah.
About both. There are things we can do in the gun control side that aren't because of mental health, but there are things we can do on the mental health side that is because of guns. And I think universal background checks I think are great, but then you have to think about the private sales, and I absolutely think you should be able to privately sell your shit without background checks, just because that's a right, you know.
Yeah, and we can do that, right? Like, that's the thing we can do. Which, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But it's like, I don't think most people are going to be selling to people they don't know that well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not going to be like I'm walking up to some random like high school kid. Like,
That's true, but
hey,
you
want this
can't
gun?
really speak for everyone. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, definitely. I just feel like most people would be
Yeah.
like an acquaintance or like a friend of a friend or
Yeah.
something like that.
Someone who has at least a slightly not shitty reputation.
Yeah.
But it is illegal as fuck to sell to someone with a felony, knowingly.
Mhm.
So private sales, I think, in no way should be like, you can't sell if you have a class 3 license, whatever. You have a fully automatic gun. You can't sell that to someone who doesn't have that license. You cannot.
Yeah.
Like, that is just wrong, and should be illegal, and it is.
Mhm.
So, and as far as magazine capacity goes, no. That I don't agree with any of the stuff that it's like we should ban 30-round magazines. Make the killing power way more. The babies die faster. Seen a decently trained human being fire an AR-15. Oh my god, I said it. With a 10-round magazine. He had like 80 10-round magazines. And he was just like, and it was a semi-automatic one.
Mhm.
He was just, he's like, yeah, I've been practicing for about a half hour. He could do it just as easy. And I don't know, dude. It's not an easy situation, but I'm pretty firm in my beliefs, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a girl post, like a repost, and it was like, these are the states that you don't need an ID to,
Oh.
or these are the states that you need an ID to vote for president. And then underneath of it was like, these are the states where you need an ID to purchase a gun. And it was like way less. And I'm like, pretty sure there's an age limit, and I'm pretty sure you need an ID to buy a gun. So
Everywhere.
like everywhere.
Every single place.
So
Private sales, you don't.
yeah.
But if you sell privately without knowing the person's age, you should stop.
Yeah.
Please stop.
And then there's a lot of those videos that are like, I went into a gun shop and bought an AR-15 in 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, the process is that fast. But that's because you also have a clean record.
Mm-hmm.
You are completely fine. And I don't know. It's just like, and then all of them backed out of it. Like, they didn't get through the entire process. They were just like, yep, well, 20 minutes have passed. Looks like I could have walked out of here with that. So we're done.
Yeah.
And
in some places, I know there is a waiting period for firearms like that. So it just depends state by state. But all things considered, it is the Second Amendment. So it should be a federally regulated thing and not a state by state thing. But I think it would be better to be a state by state thing because you have different cultures in different places. In California, they're obviously more liberal, or at least Southern California, they're obviously more liberal. So if they want to impose, if the overwhelming majority of people there want to impose an assault weapons ban, I think they should absolutely be able to. Same with other places, and it makes it a little iffy when you're like traveling or something with a gun or something. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, when it's like an overwhelming amount of people, it could be city by city, like a municipal thing too. Like Chicago itself could have like super strict gun laws, and if you think that'll solve the problem, go for it. And if you think, if you live in those places and you're that hell-bent on keeping your guns, or whatever guns they may be, or magazines or whatever, move. If it's that important to you, move. Well, my family's been here for 200 years. Well, yeah, move.
Yeah.
The United States is a big place. And like Ohio hasn't had any mass shootings this year. That's true.
When was the last time Ohio had a mass shooting?
I believe there was one last year. I'm gonna look it up. Whoa, did you hear that?
Joe Rogan was talking about that. There's those guys that they like professionally shoot guns, like they go to like competitions and stuff like that.
Competition shooters.
And he said there was some argument where some dude tried to shoot up a mall, and they were having like one of those competition dudes were there and was like, hell no, and just killed the guy. Like, and I was like, see, that's
a huge thing we haven't touched so far.
Yeah,
the good guy with a gun argument.
Yeah, so it's like that is a good reason why, I think we should have guns because like we could stop a situation like that. Yeah.
That's a point I've heard people talk about recently. Just a side note. According to Wikipedia, there has been 6 at least mass shootings in Ohio. I'm sure they all have different dates on them. There was one... Oh, boy. In 2004. There's one in 2012. There's one in 2011.
Where at?
There was the Alrosa Villa, Chardon High School, Copley Township, Madison High School, in Middletown, Ohio.
The one at the Alrosa, I'm pretty sure I heard about, and it was like a band member got shot. Is that?
Yeah.
Like a dude jumped on stage, shot the
Alrosa Villa.
Band member.
Let's read about it. Abbott was shot on stage while performing Damage Plan at the Alrosa Villa. A crowd of 250 people watched.
Yeah, and the cop. There was like a cop that stopped him, right?
No. Moments into the set, 25-year-old former Marine shot Abbott 5 times in the head.
Yeah.
With a 9mm pistol. Some people believe that the shooting was like part of the thing. But when he continued shooting, the audience quickly they were like, oh shit. He killed 3 people after that, or including, it doesn't necessarily say, and wounded 7 more. It doesn't say. Responding 3 minutes. Within 3 minutes to a dispatch call, 7 police officers entered through the front entrance and moved towards the stage. Another officer came through the back door behind the stage. He only saw the officers in front. He didn't see the other guy, and the other guy took him out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the cop like walked right up behind him and just put the gun to his head. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
I hope so. Now, this doesn't say a date. That's because it just goes to... Yeah, this doesn't say a date for the Madison High School one. There was one...
there was one last year.
It was 2 years ago.
Was it? At West Liberty?
That's not on here.
Weird.
Maybe this isn't up to date, but you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
that happened. I remember hearing about it because it's kind of close to us.
It's pretty close to us.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a mass thing. It was like one kid got shot. There was
a shooting.
Yeah, and there was a shooting at a school.
Okay, I want some information. Excuse you.
Thank you. So while you're looking at that, I'm going to touch on the topic of the big one that's been going around is the...
Well, we were on good guy with a gun, so let's keep it a little streamlined.
Good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I think it was very shortly before Donald Trump was about to be sworn in as president, just to date it. 17-year-old Eli Cerna snuck a shotgun into the school in parts, went to the restroom, assembled it, put on a camo jacket so he wouldn't be seen at all, because that's how camouflage works. Put on a homemade
Where's this at?
put on a homemade mask. It was at the West Liberty.
Yeah, and he was like in the bathroom getting ready, and the kid walked in, right? That's what happened, and he freaked out.
When he exited the restroom stall, he loaded the shotgun. According to documents, a 16-year-old Logan Cole went into the restroom and allegedly fired at his classmate. What? Wait, I'm confused. Okay. Logan Cole, 16-year-old, entered the restroom and saw him. Logan was then shot in the chest and got a pellet from the shotgun into his heart. A Mr. Thomas walked in, according to court documents, and he began to be shot at. And then that's what it says.
Weird.
And then he went out and started shooting windows before going back into the bathroom, I presume to finish off Logan, who was not dead at the time. And I guess reportedly saying, "Are you not dead?" And then I guess apologized to him. Oh man, this is super fucked up.
Yeah, I thought what had happened was...
Oh, go ahead.
But I thought what had happened was the kid walked in, the other kid was like contemplating doing his thing, and then was like, fuck, and shot him, and then was like, oh shit, and then stopped. Like, that's what I thought had happened. But apparently he did a bunch of other shit that I didn't know about.
Apparently he went to the bathroom, got the gun, put it together, walked out of the bathroom, or walked out of the stall. Some other kid came in, he shot him, and was like all flustered, I imagine. And then a teacher walked in, he shot at the teacher ran. I think, according to this, it was very oddly worded. He went out, started shooting at random shit, went back into the restroom, and saw that Logan wasn't dead, apologized, and then handed him the weapon and put his temple to the barrel and asked the kid he just shot to pull the trigger. And the kid refused. Damn.
Good guy with a gun.
No shit.
Good guy with a gun right there. Holy shit.
And then the suspect was detained soon after by the high school or the middle/high school principal and the assistant principal. That's fucking crazy.
That's insane.
He didn't actually kill anyone. That's insane.
So that the kid didn't die then?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Like I said, it was very...
I remember it being like everywhere last year.
Yeah,
between,
it was a big deal. I remember it. I remember being pretty... I was like, what? And, jeez, that's crazy.
And I remember when the kid was in the hospital, people were like, pray for Logan, stuff like that. There was all kinds of... What?
What time do we have?
44.
Okay. Yeah, that's insane. That's a whole
holy shit,
crazy situation. Good on the kid for not pulling the trigger, but at the same time, if he had pulled the trigger, good on the kid for pulling the trigger. It's like, that's such an odd situation.
Yeah.
In one retrospect, if he had gone out and actually continued to shoot classmates and stuff and killed more people, we would be like, why didn't he shoot him? But he didn't, so we have the luxury of being like, good on him,
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you're forced with that decision. It's not an easy decision regardless of what's happening. I imagine. Never had to shoot another human being, thankfully. But speaking of which, good guy with a gun. My opinion on that. There's a couple branches to this. The first I'll go into, because we were talking about a school shooting, and that's what just happened, is arming teachers. Someone very close to me is a teacher and won a contest to basically get training. If you're the school, I believe, superintendent okayed it, you could carry after. It was like a 3-day course you had to take.
Mm-hmm.
And the gun had to be approved and everything, and a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of red tape. And he won the contest. And he ended up not going through with it, completely unrelated. Financial stuff, essentially. Just a bunch of problems happened at that time. But that person specifically, speaking on that person specifically, I would feel much better if he were to have been armed from now until the future. That would make me feel like that school was much safer than other places. Other teachers, I can't say. I think it really depends on the school system, because there are some schools that are insane. There are some schools where the teachers and students get into fights all the time, and you put a gun in that situation, you escalate the situation a shit ton. Say a teacher's fighting this kid or breaking up a fight, one of them grabs the gun, wherever it may be. Because if it was on him, then they could grab the gun and, whatever. Bad shit happens at that point, I imagine. And say that gun wasn't on him, what's the point of having a gun there? If it's like locked in his desk or something.
That's true.
What's the point of having it there? He's going to have to fiddle with it, unlock it, and everything loaded, blah, 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 etc. Wow. Crazy shit I imagine is happening. I've heard a couple things. There are tons of unemployed veterans that can act as armed security guards for schools around the nation. And we had a security guard, we had one security guard. There was a police officer too, but
he was off-duty police.
At our school, a high school. He was not armed. He was also ineffective, but there was never a situation that he really needed to be while we were there, thankfully.
Yeah. There was a few threats.
Yeah.
But when they did that, there was like cops everywhere at the school. Like, so
they definitely acted accordingly, I would say. But like our school, I would definitely say our school district, arming teachers, as long as they're well trained, you spend hours and hours and hours and hours training them, dialing in their shit and getting them well versed in whatever they're doing, whatever gun they use. Absolutely, I think. In some school systems, no. I imagine inner city New York, Manhattan public schooling probably isn't the best place to do this.
Yeah.
Just because there's a huge mass of kids and fights and everything.
Yeah. Like, you mean like the more suburban type places would be fine?
But it doesn't necessarily have to do with population, just track record.
But
it should be up to each superintendent whether they want to arm the teachers, employ veterans, or just get security guards. There was a thing that was we need to have metal detectors in every school. We need to have patrols, armed patrols in every school. It's a whole spiel about that. And someone was like, "You're describing a prison." And I was like, "Well, prisons are pretty fucking safe."
That's true.
All things
considered. That's very true.
Not that I think that it's necessary. In some places, it probably is. I know a lot of people were just like, "Wow, I'm really glad my kids are grown up that I work with." They're like, "I'm really glad my kids are grown up, so I don't have to send them to public school because I'm scared."
Yeah.
So it's a situation that needs to be solved. And like I said, arming the teachers, yes, asterisk. Certain districts, and I think some people are like, "Well, it can't be case by case. That's just too much." No, it absolutely should be case by case. And not every school has the funding to hire armed security guards
or like off-duty policemen and stuff like that.
And so the schools that don't should train their teachers if they can, and if they can't, just really push, because we had training. What was that called?
Alice
training.
That shit is effective, I will say. I've never seen it. I've never heard about it being used in a real situation, but from our drills and stuff, like, it seemed to be pretty.
I would say so.
Pretty effective.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
there's a few things I've seen sprout from this because capitalism, that's how that works.
Mm.
Is like door braces that you can't break down the door, and like a whole bunch of other stuff, which I think is great. If you
Yeah.
make those cheap, ready to available, more and more and more. Like that's
Yeah.
fantastic. I think every room, it would be great if there was, or like a few rooms per hallway, and like you had drills, active shooter drills, like fire drills, like tornado drills, that you would go, and you would know which rooms to go in. And the first week of school you do that. Last week of school, like you keep doing that every year, and have them not change. And you could even give the teachers who have concealed carry in those rooms. So not only you have like 3 times of protection.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it comes down to training the kids, the teachers, and any security guards if they can. I think it should be case by case. Some schools can't. Some schools can't handle that responsibility, just based on the student population, the teacher population. They have to absolutely undergo a rigorous mental check, the teachers, if they were to be armed. Same thing with the veterans. Any security guard, for that matter, who's armed should obviously undergo any kind of mental test to make sure they're good. A background check, obviously, and a ass load of training. And so I think that would solve a lot of problems. And a good guy with a gun in other situations is like a mall. Now, what do you think about that? Gun-free zones, specifically.
Being a mall cop makes it a lot easier, but I think in those areas where, so like working at a mall, it's high risk. It's a high risk area because of the amount of traffic of people you get through there.
And the valuables.
Yeah. So I think in places like that, there should be armed guards for sure. So in a situation like if I'm at the mall and I'm walking around and someone pulls out a fucking gun, literally my training is to be like, all right, follow me, and then just run out. Just like that's my training. So like I think in a mall situation, either there should be either the mall should hire off-duty policemen to be there because they definitely have the money to do that, or arm the guards there.
What do you think about the gun-free stuff? Do you think it should continue to be a gun, like you can't conceal carry on the property, or not? Only arm the guards and let concealed carry people in with their concealed carry, or none of the above? I mean,
I think concealed carry, there should be an exception for that, and I think that you definitely should be allowed to carry, and especially in those places, like the high-risk places, like I said. Because there's that, like I said, the Joe Rogan story. There was a guy who had his concealed carry. He's like trained constantly like that, and the guy tried to shoot up the mall, and the guy was like, "Oh, fuck you."
Yeah.
And like de-escalated the situation. So definitely, but yeah, that's.
I agree. I think if it's a sign that says you can't carry in here, that's very obviously only pertaining to criminals. Like those are the only people who would break that.
Yeah.
And like, duh.
Yeah.
So you're just like someone with a gun who wants to do damage, wants to be infamous. They're gonna go to a place like that where they know that there's a much lower chance of people being armed because most people are going to see that and not carry in there because it's illegal or it's punishable. So yeah, it's not very smart. Like banning assault weapons is smarter than putting up a sign that says don't carry this in here. Because like there is some effect to that. because people on both those accounts, the only people who are going to really follow those are the ones that aren't going to shoot people.
Yeah.
So it's really dumb when it's just a sign. Like it's like a movie theater, all these places and schools, like that's literally where all this stuff is happening. It's not going to solve all the problems, but you let people conceal carry in there, you're going to hear less and less mass shootings, guaranteed. Yeah. The fact that there are people out there who do that should be, proof, evidence enough that is a good thing that will continue to happen if you make it so that they can carry in there. That's not going to stop a criminal. Like that's, if you think that will help the situation, you're not very bright.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's just they're criminals. They're out to do criminal shit. They're not like, oh, guns are banned. Oh shit, I should probably not use this gun.
Yeah.
Like they're a criminal.
I'm not gonna shoot this place. It says I can't.
Yeah. Like
that's not how it works. Pause it.
All right, guys. Sorry about that. A friend showed up to the door.
We can just cut that part out.
No, I know, but there's gonna be a cut in the.
That's true.
Yeah. So sorry about that.
That's gonna be the last of it this week.
Yeah,
folks.
We're gonna wrap it up now. Thank you for watching, subscribing, doing whatever you do for us. Thank you for all your support. We love all of you.
Mm-hmm. Correct. I concur. And feel free to just, I'm down to talk about either side of this issue and many, many others. So if you have extra input on either side, send it my way. That's cool. Our comment section's readily available for all that. Just don't come with us bullshit with your like, fuck you guys for this. No. If you want to have a civil discussion, we can do that, but that's it.
Yeah, if you want to discuss or debate with knowledge of what you're talking about, then we'll definitely be open to that. Yeah.
But hopefully same time next week. See y'all later.
All right. Bye. Love y'all.